Now, there are many civilizations who speak about, coming from the stars or beings coming from the stars. Now, if you're looking out there and you believe this is where you come from, in order for you to understand, where you come from and your purpose on this planet, then you must first study the stars. So, of course, when you look out there, what do you see? They seen the constellations, they seen the stars, they seen the 5 planets that's visible to the naked eye. You see the sun, of course, you see the moon. So, we have basically 88 constellations that we know of. Now, we also know that 12 of those constellations, basically our sun, the planets, and the moon go through these 12 constellations, the zodiac. So this is stuff that you could see, and calculate. And this is what the ancients did. They took note of these things. They took note that the sun passed through a certain constellation, during a certain time. The same thing with the sun and the planets. So they calculated this stuff because, of course, if you believe that you come from space, you are paying attention to what's out there because it's so much stuff. Have you ever been to a place or a country where at night, I remember out to sea when I was in the Navy, sometimes being on the boat was to go to the flight deck at night. And when you look up, it's almost like being on a spaceship in outer space because the stars and everything it's so clear out at sea. You can see everything. It looks crazy. It's a crazy view that a lot of people don't get a chance to see. And I can imagine back then that, they'd probably seen the universe the same way, and it probably was amazing to them, and they'd probably seen stuff flying back and forth and, what have you. So, they paid attention, they cataloged this stuff, and they wrote it down over the years, over thousands of years. So, of course, when you notice things like when the sun is in this constellation, it's colder here or it's warmer here, you take note of this kind of stuff. So, of course, over time, as you're paying attention, you will notice things like when the sun is in this constellation, that we have winter or we have summer or the leaves start to die, things of that nature. So, of course, you will look at the stars as somehow, controlling what takes place on the planet. And this is how a lot of the, you can call them primitives or, the ancients looked at things like when this constellation appears, we don't see the buffalo no more. So, food is scarce or things don't grow. So, of course, to them, not having the same kind of mindset that we have, they looked at this stuff as, gods, and they deified the constellations. And, different civilizations saw different things. They deified them based upon the actions or the animals or whatever it looked like to them, which is why a lot of different civilizations have different constellations. We don't have the rat like the Chinese do. So, different constellations meant different things to different civilizations, different groups of people. And when you understand the culture, you can understand why they use a lot of the animals and things that they do. But, so they deified these things. And a lot of people, I'm not going to say it was worship. It was just so much as taking notice of what they seen in the heavens. And, we look at stuff as, worship and this and that. It's not, the same to them. Of course, if this constellation is bringing abundance of life or food to my people, then of course I'm going to celebrate every time the sun is in its constellation. They have their sun gods as well as the Egyptians. So we know about Quetzalcoatl, who is basically the winged serpent. And when you go down to Chichen Itza in Mexico, and of course they have the pyramid down there as well. Now, as I was saying before, all of this, now remember, we're talking about astrology here. We're talking about the sun. This is the sun. A lot of people might think, well, they crazy for spending all them hours building that huge pyramid for, just because sunspots look like a winged serpent. It sounds crazy. It's going to make a lot of sense later. But, as I said, this stuff is the basis of religion. This is where all the stuff comes from. When you look at it, you can find it everywhere. Whenever you find something that's ancient, that has an ancient story attached to it, I guarantee you're going to look in the Bible, the Quran, or Torah, and you're going to find a similar story or somebody trying to rip it off. And it has to always do with religion. So you have Quetzalcoatl, which is the winged serpent that is basically speaking about the sun. And what a lot of people don't realize is the Mormons believe that Quetzalcoatl is basically the resurrected Jesus Christ. And yes, they actually believe this. So they believe that Jesus basically was in America, and he came and appeared and talked to the neophytes, who they believe were some Indians, the Hopewell Indians. They believe they were the Hopewell Indians. So when you read Third Neophyte or Nephi in the Book of Mormon, something we have not touched on in any of my videos, the Book of Mormon and some of these other weird religions, which I'm going to start touching on a little bit more so you can see the fuckery, the foolery, that's in a lot of this stuff and where it comes from. So when you read in Third Neophyte, I'm just going to read 12 and 13, just so you can understand. So it says, Jesus calls the 12 disciples. He delivers to the neophytes a discourse similar to the Sermon on the Mount. He speaks the Beatitudes, which basically is like grace or the benediction. He speaks the Beatitudes. His teachings transcend and take precedence over the law of Moses. Men are commanded to be perfect, even as he and his Father are perfect. 13 says, Jesus teaches the neophytes the Lord's Prayer. They are to lay up treasures in heaven. The 12 disciples and their ministry are commanded to take no thought for temporal things. Now, I want you to pay attention. Take a look. Now you can see it's a pyramid, and it's basically shaped just like the pyramid in Chichen Itza, the pyramid of Quetzalcoatl, the serpent of the sun, or the sun serpent, or the winged serpent. So we know what? Jesus is the sun. So Jesus, they're basically telling you in the Book of Mormon, Jesus is the sun. So here you have Jesus coming down the pyramid, and it's representing Quetzalcoatl, who represents the winged serpent that represents the sunspots that basically is talking about the sun. So it all goes back to the sun. So I want you to understand what we're dealing with here. And you're going to find this a lot. We're going to see this a lot throughout the video. That, as I said, when you start going back and looking at a lot of these stories, these ancient stories, they deal with astrology and have mythological stories and stuff like that. You're going to find Christianity or some religion ripping it off. And you can see just the example here. Now, for anybody who knew about the Chichen Itza and Quetzalcoatl and everything like that, and understand what it pertains to, and see that it's talking about the sun, it's easy for you to make that connection of Jesus and the sun. So when we talk about the whole winged sun disk, a winged sun disk, we know we found it in Kemet. But then when we look at Malachi 4:2, it says here, but unto you that fear my name shall the Son of Righteousness, Son, S-U-N, of righteousness arise with healing in his wings, and ye shall go forth and grow up as calves of the stall. Now, the Bible is replete with astrology. You got to understand that. So we know Greek mythology is all in the Old Testament, but what about the New Testament? Okay, so again, we look at Virgo. We look at the constellation Virgo. What you have is you have the movement of the sun, and what it does is it comes into the constellation Virgo, and as it's coming into, following its rotation into the constellation Virgo, you have, when it makes contact, it looking like Virgo, the Virgin, being pregnant. Now, as the sun continues its course, you have the sun coming out basically between the legs of Virgo, having it seem as if, a virgin birth, has been done. So you have Virgo giving birth to the sun. And that's all basically it is. Virgo giving birth to the sun, Virgo the Virgin, you have a virgin birth. It's all astrology. This is where the shit comes from. And it's crazy that when you look at the cycle and you see this being done, you can see clearly where they got the concept of a virgin birth. Now, when we read Revelations 12, it's talking about this. And there appeared a great wonder in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun, and the moon under her feet, and upon her head a crown of 12 stars. Again, we have Virgo. When you look at Virgo, you have at the bottom of her foot, you can see clearly the moon and its rotation going through its cycle at the foot of Virgo. You can see Virgo being bathed with the sun. This is all talking about the constellations, talking about what's happening in the universe. You can see over top of her head, Leo. Leo can be considered the 12-starred crown that they're referring to, but there are also 12 stars, above her head. So we can consider Leo being the crown that it's talking about. So again, when you look at this stuff, astronomy, astrology, it's all stuff they got from the heavens. As I said, this is where this stuff comes from, and this is the basis of modern day religion. And same thing with Revelation 6. When you look at Revelation 6, it says, it's talking about the seals being open. And I saw, and behold, a white horse, and he that sat on him had a bow. And that one is pretty clear that it's Sagittarius because of the bow. So it's easy stuff. When you pay attention, you can see what the stuff is really talking about. So now we can do this basically all day and go through stories or constellations and find stories in the Bible that parallel, that we can see that they clearly stole from an ancient story that deals with astrology, or an ancient story from an ancient civilization. We see this all the time. You could probably understand that a lot of the stuff that I do talk about and get into is basically the occult or esoteric knowledge, which esoteric basically means, knowledge that only people with certain knowledge will understand. And we know there are secret societies, mystery schools, and people who have the wealth of knowledge that they do not want to share with the public for, whatever reason. But we also know, and, because we do research and because this is what we are into, that these secret societies, these people who have been in secret societies and in mystery schools and have learned this knowledge, people like myself as well, we teach. And the occult releases a lot of information that is coded with the secrets that they don't want to reveal, straightforward. So if you get into occult knowledge, occult science, a lot of it is esoteric, meaning that, you have to have a certain understanding of knowledge to understand what the subject is about, what they're actually talking about in a lot of esoteric books. So most of the terminology in the occult is in Greek. They use Greek words or Latin words. And this is one of the ways that you can know if somebody is in a secret society or is into the occult, by the terms that they use. So you're speaking with somebody, and if you're a Mason and they use certain terms that is only spoken in the lodge, or that Masons use as common words, then you know that this person is most likely a Mason or is into the occult. So like we call planets, it's a planet. But they call planets theoi. Theoi means the gods. And from theoi, we get aletheia. Aletheia means the breath of God. Translated into Greek, it means truth and enlightenment. So understand, like in the occult and secret societies, truth and enlightenment is God. Plain and simple. Knowledge is God. You can't get no more clear than that. This is what they are talking about every time. Whenever you hear a person speak about God that is a Mason, they are talking about truth and enlightenment. The trick is to fool you into thinking they're talking about Jesus or, Jesus Pop, Jesus Daddy. And they're talking about truth and enlightenment, which is what Jesus represents. So this is why at award shows, this is why rappers and people who are supposed to be in these secret societies or be Masons can wear the Jesus piece. This is why they wear it. This is why they thank Jesus or why they thank God, because they are thinking truth and knowledge, truth and enlightenment. And they have a deeper understanding of what Jesus is and what he represents. Now, at the same time, they are also thinking they're white masters who put them in place, in power, because if you wear the Ankh, it is a symbol for life, also truth and knowledge. So, I would prefer to wear an Ankh, which I always wear Ankh. People always ask me about it. I have a lot of these in various forms. it's also a symbol for truth and enlightenment. So it means you understand, you get it, you are conscious. So now getting back to Aletheia or Aletheia, which is a major symbol for the occult. Aletheia basically meaning the breath of God or truth and enlightenment. When you really get down to it, Aletheia is basically the conscious mind of man. So if you Google it, if you look up the name Aletheia, you'll see basically a bunch of women. This is what it looks like. And you'll see a bunch of companies with that same name, Aletheia, Aletheia. It's a lot of people who have that name because they understand what it represents. They understand that it has power in it. There is power in names. You have to understand what people give their energy to. If you understand what energy means, if you give your energy, positive energy to something, and you adopt that symbol or you adopt that name, then you are receiving that positive energy. And a lot of people look at that as spooky stuff, but they don't get it. We have been tricked into, giving ourselves these weird ghetto ass names like, Killer Mike, Tech 90 Shots, all kinds of weird names that has negativity attached to the name. And these people are, giving good positive energy to such a negative, symbol. And, instead of them receiving, what the symbol really represents, they are getting your good energy because you are worshiping these negative names. And then when you go ahead and take that name for yourself, you are not getting the positive energy because nobody is worshiping you. You're getting all the negative energy that is behind a name that has to do with killing or murder, the shooter, stuff like that. And you're absorbing the real negative energy of that name. Meanwhile, the celebrity or, the rap star with that negative name is getting positive energy from you through their negative name. So you have to understand how energy works. And again, it sounds like spooky stuff, but you see the results and why these people are on top with these names, and while other people who got these other names like Pookie and Killer J and all kinds of stuff like that, where they at? They're either in prison or, or dead and gone. So you have to understand that one of the things that the occult always speaks about is having names that deals with power, and they always do. If you look at movies that they put out, if you look at just general names that they have, stuff they have in their homes, these people, they understand energy and what it attracts. So by you just having a Buddha in your house, you are putting a lot of positive energy in your home. You just having an Ankh in your house, it's a lot of positive energy attached to that. You have to learn how to then, tap into this stuff and understand what it's talking about. And I'm going to put out a video, I think right after this, that's going to really get into meditation and understanding energy a lot more, how to work with it. So that's probably going to be coming out after this because I get so many requests for this kind of video. But I'm going to take you through what I do and my practices and stuff you need to really understand about energy and how to start working it on this small level and start bringing it up, because your goal is to eventually, as I said, affect your dream world, your dream state, and what you are dreaming about, to differentiate between movies, what is reality and what you saw on TV. This is hard. It takes a long time, but you got to start somewhere. We're going to get into that, but you got to understand, the power in names, the power that's in symbols and why they use it. And because they are using it, they are on top and basically controlling everything. So now I know a lot of people are going to say, well, I ain't giving my child one of these weirdo white people names or one of these crazy names. And, again, you got to understand the power in names. Like even the Pope, when a Pope is crowned, the new Pope, he changes his entire name. It's the same thing in the military. When you gain a higher rank, your name changes. You become, go from a lieutenant junior grade to a lieutenant, to a lieutenant commander, to a commander, captain, and so on and so forth. Now, these new names, these new ranks instill power, of course. We know that an admiral is a higher rank than, a captain. So if you see an admiral, 4-star, 3-star, 2-star, 1-star, he outranks you. So the power that he gets, the respect that he gets goes with that name and with that title. Now, it's weird in the military and the Navy that an admiral outranks a captain. But if that admiral is on a ship where a captain is the CO, the commanding officer, then as long as that admiral is on the ship, he is outranked by the captain, by the commanding officer of the ship. That only makes sense anyway. But, Aletheia, the reason why it's a woman, the reason why, it represents truth and enlightenment is because the woman is, of course, the true human, the true first being on this planet. And that's another thing that you get into with the occult, and the reason why, a lot of secret organizations really, secret societies really worship the woman. Even in Catholicism, it's more Mary worship than Jesus worship, as you can see, because the woman is the true one, the true divine being. And, it should be a black woman there because, of course, we all come from her. So the woman is worshipped. The woman is looked at as being the truth. Men, we come from women. The races come from, women. So we have no clue on the true power and potential that a woman has. I suspect that they do, which is why they try to suppress her power, because if she can have the power to mutate and create a man and then mutate and create the white race and so on and so forth, who knows what, she's really capable of. But this is why they choose the woman. The Statue of Liberty, a woman. You look at the Columbia symbol with the woman holding up the torch. Same thing like the Statue of Liberty holding up the torch, which basically means, truth and enlightenment, knowledge. So you start connecting these things and start understanding why certain things are in certain places. So when you start getting into this stuff, you find out a lot of things. And when you eventually have the balls to start digging into Satanism and the occult and esoteric studies, you find out a lot about Aletheia. So now I want to read a little bit of this stuff here so you understand what they're talking about in the occult, what this dogma is really about. Now it says here, Aletheia is our God in dogma. It says here, Aletheia is the breath of God or life, the conscious mind of man. And what does Soma find its support? Now understand, Soma is an ancient plant, one of the most sacred plants of the ancient world. It's supposed to give you like rejuvenation and longevity, and it was only known to people who was initiated in the highest orders. It says, what does initiation find its support? Truth, therefore, they say, to the one who is initiated, speak the truth. For it is in the truth that initiation finds its support. And what does truth find its support? The heart, said Yajnavalkya, who was basically this ancient philosopher who lived in the 6th and 7th century BCE. He was basically like a yogi. He was into Hinduism and everything like that. One of the people who I've studied for a long time. And when we'll get to that point, because we have to get into Hinduism and everything like that and these other ancient religions, because there's a lot with it. And what you'll find out is a lot of the mystics, a lot of the people in the mystery schools like Blavatsky, who traveled to Tibet and was really into Hinduism and everything like that, you will see that they was really into this stuff, and that a lot of the information that we get in the occult world comes from a lot of these ancient mystics and yogis and stuff like that, because they was really into mysticism, into consciousness. And a lot of them are what we can call the Jedi. If you really want to get deep into it, they are the good side of the force. And, we're going to get into all that. The heart, says Yajnavalkya, for through the heart, one knows the truth. Therefore, it is in the heart that the truth finds its support. Just so, Yajnavalkya, this cause of truth, for the acceptance of which by science and the Christian world I am ready to lay down my life without a moment's hesitation. Those who know me will know I speak sincerely and say but what I feel, because I study occultism or ancient spiritualism. I am thought an enemy to the cause of truth, pure and simple. Only the theogony of the ancient wisdom religion may afford a glimpse of the truth. And theogony basically means the ascension of the gods, the genealogy, I should say, of the gods. Now, man cannot possess truth, aletheia, except he participates in the gnosis. So we may say now, no man can know the truth unless he studies the secrets of the pleroma of the occult, of occultism. So Pleroma is basically a spiritual realm, or the spiritual universe, for those of you who want to understand that. So no man can know the truth unless he studies the secret of the pleroma of occultism. And these secrets are all in the theogony of the ancient wisdom religion, which is the aletheia of occult science. Okay, that's the important part. And then nature will give up her secrets to those who seek truth for its own sake. Nature gives up her innermost secrets and imparts true wisdom only to him who seeks truth for its own sake and who craves for knowledge in order to confer benefits on others, not on his own unimportant personality. So this is just some of the writings of occultism, and a lot of people, this stuff you can find in a lot of Helena Petrovna Blavatsky's books. A lot of, if you really get into Manly P. Hall, I know he was like a major 33rd degree Mason, but before he died, when he was old and didn't give a fuck, he revealed a lot of information. But you have to understand, this represents the spine and this serpentine energy. So now when you understand this, when you understand what the Djed is, and when you understand energy and consciousness, then this right here will make a lot more sense to you. Take a look. Now, when a lot of people saw this, they first thought was electricity. And that's not a bad thought. You know, as I'll explain later, you're not wrong to say electricity here, but this represents Osiris, and Osiris having the control over consciousness and energy. This is why the hands are grabbing the serpent. It's having control over the reptilian energies, the reptilian brain. You cannot have control or move your arms or, control on a physical sense, as you would think you're controlling something with your hands. You're physically controlling something. But on a spiritual sense, they tried to represent it with the arms grabbing the serpent or the serpentine energy. So when you look at this, again, when you understand what the Djed is, because that is the Djed column right there, or the Djed pillar. They have different names for it, but it's talking about the same thing. This is Osiris grasping control of the serpentine energy. Now understand, this design, our spine, is perfectly designed to handle energy. So what are we talking about? We're talking about the transfer of consciousness. Consciousness transferring energy into physical material, movement, matter, or what have you. So you're talking about the transfer of energy. Our spine is designed perfectly to handle the transfer of energy. The Djed is talking about that. Now, when you go out and you look at power plants, you see this design. Look around, you'll see it. Look at power plants. You'll see that design looks just like the Djed. Look at spark plugs. You see the same design. When you look around in a lot of movies that you've probably seen before, you'll see this design is dealing with the energy of the brain, or the consciousness creating this energy that travels down the spine, which causes you to move, plain and simple, to react with reality, the physical world. And this is what it's talking about. Power Rangers, Zordon, you see the electric things on the side. You'll see this stuff a lot in a lot of places. Back again to Demolition Man. Remember, on Demolition Man, remember the little glow sticks they had, those sticks that he used when he shot the guy on top of the head. You see the electric created there, but you look at the design, it's just like the Djed, trying to tell you something. But this design is perfect for transferring energy, and they understand that, and it's basically represented by, the spine, the spinal column, or the Djed, which is Osiris. And Osiris is a few things, but this, in this aspect, is what it's talking about when it's referring to Osiris. It's talking about the control of energy, plain and simple. So now when you look at the Egyptian Book of the Dead, when you look at plate 2, which is the hymn to Osiris, you see the Djed there. You see the Djed. You don't see the normal representation or drawing of Osiris, but the Djed is there. This is the hymn to Osiris, so it's talking about Osiris. So, you know, the Djed, you'll see it all over the place. I mean, when you kind of sort of look at the base of a light bulb, it looks like a Djed. You look at the king on a chessboard, it looks like a Djed in certain chessboards. You know, you see it in so many different places. The Djed is also called, as I said, the Djed column or the Djed pillar. The Djed is also called the House of Osiris. And it's funny when you look at Chinese pagodas, they sort of kind of look like the Djed a little bit when you look at them. So, you know, it's everywhere. It's in so many different places when you take a look at it. And, you know, you see it in a lot of places around the world. The medical caduceus, you see it's basically representing the serpentine energy, the masculine and feminine energy, Kundalini rising. And you see it's basically going up, basically the spine, what it's supposed to represent. And the two wings basically would be the corpus callosum. And it's leading to the third eye. You know, that's basically that little round thing, the little ball on the top is talking about. So Egyptian high alchemy is basically about gathering that energy, as I said. Gathering that energy so that just like the medical caduceus, you have the serpentine energy, you have the masculine, feminine energy, you have the higher brain, lower brain. The energies going up the spine or going up the Djed in order to reach basically the third eye. So you have the Djed eye, Jedi. This is where they get it from. This is what it's talking about, becoming a Jedi. Yoda was green like Osiris. He looked like a reptilian, didn't he? This is what it's talking about. This is what all this stuff is alluding to when you understand how to put it together. And when you start looking at movies and understand how to break down the esoteric meaning, the whole metaphysics of it. It's talking about the Jedi, and it's what the Jedi is talking about. They're talking about the Djed, spine, Osiris. They're talking about Kundalini rising, the energy. They're talking about Egyptian high alchemy, the gathering of this energy in order to rise in enlightenment, to gain control of consciousness and awareness. Awareness is a major thing. Let me explain something to you, because a lot of people don't think like me. A lot of people don't think like this, I should say. But you have to think about how much your brain processes a day. Now, it is said that the brain processes about 70,000 thoughts per day. 70,000. That's a lot. If you had conscious control over 70,000 thoughts, you would never move. You would sit still, because there is no way it will be time for energy to be sent, to the body to produce movement. You're too busy being stuck every millisecond on a thought. So, this tells you, this is how powerful the subconscious mind is. It is so much power there. I mean, even if you can't understand the implications of that, 70,000, and this goes into like vibration, vibrating on different frequencies, and we're going to get into all that down the line. But remember, like between 50 and like 90 hertz or something like that is supposed to be like where we are. Anybody that's 80 and over is considered a genius. If you're vibrating at about 55, 54, this is where sickness occurs. And if you're vibrating under 45, this is where cancer occurs. So this is what it's talking about. So you talking about being at a state of being, a state of consciousness, a state of energy that, allows you to surpass normal man and become something different, something great. Me just now coming back from Kemet, the first time I was there, I was stupid. I mean, I knew nothing. And it's embarrassing almost. Like my thoughts then was like, they somehow did this. Because I just didn't understand the sheer weight. And the fact that at that time, we didn't have a crane that can do what they did. So, how the hell? I just didn't understand. It was just, I got talked into it, took the trip, and was ignorant the whole time. And it did change my life as far as going down to, to Karnak and going down to Abu Simbel and seeing the Ramses statues and everything like that, and seeing how Abu Simbel is like, everything Ramses. And when you go from the south of Kemet up to the north all along, everywhere you go, I mean, you find traces of Ramses. He really was a big deal in Kemet, and that's what really kind of sparked my interest with the Bible, as far as the Bible definitely lying about Ramses.